So I'm Ellie Smart. I'm 23. I'm from Kansas City originally.
And I'm Owen Weymouth. I'm from Plymouth, England, and I'm 20. And we kind of met in the 21st century kind of way.
I DM'd him on Instagram.
So yeah, Ellie, I got in my inbox on Instagram a couple of years ago. Hi, my name's Ellie. I'm from the US. I want to try high diving. You've got some platforms in England. Could I swing by for a few months and try it out and see if I'm any good at it?
And I booked a one-way flight to England, and we actually, most people don't know this, but we were best friends for the first year, so it took a while before we actually started dating.
Yeah,
but
a lot of people don't know exactly when the friendship to a relationship happened, but 2 years of knowing each other now.
Yeah.
That's so cute. Okay, so Ellie, at the time, were you into cliff diving, or what were you doing, and kind of why were you looking for that change just to go to England and figure something new?
Yeah, so I was studying sports psychology, and my best friend was like, let's go cliff jumping, and I was like, no way, that sounds so dumb, I would never do that. I wasn't a very adventurous person at the time, and then I ended up, something convinced me that I needed to go with her, so I went cliff jumping, and then I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool, maybe this is a thing that I can do. And I ended up researching it, and girls were competing, and it was a big sport that I didn't even know about. So then I was kind of well, let's do it.
And it was kind of at the time where I'd just gone from being a 10-meter diver and then just working my way into the professional scene as well. So it was perfect timing. We kind of started the whole journey together.
Oh, that's awesome. That's really cool. So before cliff diving, had you had any diving experience?
Yeah, so I started diving when I was 5 in country club at Carriage Club. And then from there, I dove in high school, and I dove in college, and then ended up transitioning to high diving.
And how does that transition go?
So for me, I ended up quitting after college. So I took 2 years off. I worked in Barcelona for a fashion company, was not thinking I'd ever dive again. And then I found out about cliff diving and started doing it. And the biggest difference is we dive from double the height, so 20 meters, and then we land on our feet instead of head first. So it's kind of this transition of learning how to change it so you land on your feet. But I mean, everything in the air and the takeoff is all the same. So it's just kind of getting used to that entry.
Nice. So tell me about what your guys' lives look like now.
Wow. We would say we have a lot of things on our plate, especially Ellie.
One too many things.
So I'd say my main focus is getting my working visa to come and live here and help out Ellie with the club team in Minneapolis. We kind of sat down with the owner, who's called Wembo Chen. He's a 2-time Olympic coach, and he's the head coach at the University of Minnesota. And we said to him, we'd like to run your little diving club on the side and kind of build it from a small club into a bigger club. And that's kind of the aim for the next 2 or 3 years. Obviously, we're doing our professional diving in the summer as well. So the main aim is getting that working visa and starting work in Minneapolis.
Yeah, so it kind of just depends. So our off season for diving, in our off season, I'm the graduate assistant coach at the University of Minnesota. So I coach their diving team, and I'm the club director of our club team. So I do that, and then I'm also doing my master's and running the Clean Cliffs project with Owen. So that's the off season. It's crazy, lots of diving. And then we just started season last week. We had our first competition in the Philippines. And now it kind of gets crazy. We go to Dublin in 2 weeks, and then it's back to back to back until August.
Wow. So how many competitions are there during the season? How many different places will you travel?
So there's 7 Red Bull competitions this season, 2 FINA competitions, and then we'll do probably 3 or 4 just extra one-off competitions. So total, we're doing a lot.
Yeah, we're doing lots of events, probably 12 or 13 in total. It's almost every weekend up until August.
Wow. So tell me a little bit about life on the cliff diving circuit. Are you always diving with the same people, competing with different people? How does that work?
So with Red Bull, there is permanent divers and wildcard divers. So for the girls, we have 6 permanent divers, and then there's 10 permanent boys. And then there's 4 wild cards at each stop. So the permanent divers will go to every competition, and then the wild cards will get invited here and there to compete. So it's pretty much the same group of people the whole time. There's not too many wild cards to pick from, especially on the girls' side. So we pretty much all see each other all summer long.
And what's really nice is, in the past, the Red Bull divers tended to be the good divers who wanted to be pro cliff divers. And then there was another scene called Infinite Drop now, previously World High Diving Federation, for the amateur divers. But now we're in a phase where the sport is so competitive that to get into the professional sport you need to go through the amateur first. So we have like friends in the amateur scene and the professional scene, which is like kind of a new generation thing that is pretty lucky to be part of. So we're in all the events.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's hectic.
Sounds like
crazy
it.
living out of a suitcase for months, but it's fun.
Awesome. So tell me a little bit about this Clean Cliffs project that you two started.
So when we first started traveling around the world, we kind of were realizing the same thing in every location, and that was plastic pollution. And we kind of looked around the community of cliff divers and people in extreme sports and realized no one was really doing anything about it. So that's how we kind of put our heads together and came up with the Clean Cliffs project. And our mission is to raise awareness about plastic pollution and inspire others to make changes in their own life. So it's kind of how it all started. And then one project turned into two, which turned into three, and now we've spoken in
Loads of schools
all over the world.
Ambassadors in 20 countries.
Yeah.
There's about 30 or 40 ambassadors who we're kind of trying to push the movement into different countries and areas. Just this idea of getting outside and making sure that you're doing good for the environment whilst you're outside. So it's going pretty well for now, and hopefully in the future it's going to be even better, bigger and better.
Awesome. So while you guys are traveling, will you get a group together and actually clean up plastic, or is this more educational, or how does it work?
So it's kind of a combination of things. Like, first of all, whenever we go to a cliff diving location, we do a cleanup with whoever's there. A lot of people will join in. It's just what we do. And it's more, we know, like, what we pick up isn't necessarily going to change the world, but it's the act of doing it and people seeing it and people joining in and getting them thinking about the problem and what needs to be changed. So then from there, we also go to schools, we speak to companies, we travel around the world to speak to people about the issue, raise awareness, get them involved. And then we also do big scale projects. So this year we're kind of working alongside the Red Bull calendar, and we're doing 3 major Clean Cliffs projects. We did one just recently in the Philippines, then we'll do one in Lebanon and one in Bosnia. And just along with the season, we'll go early, we'll speak at schools, we'll do cleanups, we'll go on adventures, and kind of just raise awareness.
And then document it as well as possible to inspire everybody online and push the website and social media to grow as a community.
Awesome. So as you guys have been really paying attention to this pollution issue, educating people, picking up trash yourselves, what's been the most surprising thing that you've learned?
I think the most surprising thing is how on board everybody actually is, but they're not actually doing stuff yet. I think the world is kind of really picked up on the issue in the last 5 or 10 years. It's really in multimedia, it's on national television, like politicians discuss it now. But when we go to places, people are still like really shocked that we're actually doing something about it, and then they like kind of want to join in. Like, we have these trash bags that we take around, and they're like, can we borrow one for the afternoon just to help out? I think once people see you doing it, they want to join in, and I think that's the main thing that we've learned, is that if you set a standard and you set an inspiration, that other people just follow on and do the same thing.
I would probably have the same answer. It's been, I think the most surprising thing is just seeing how many people want to get involved and like love the idea, and that they just want to be part of it. It's so cool to see something that seemed like a small idea that we were worried like our friends would think we were like lame for trying to do something different, and then seeing how many of them have gotten involved and supported us. And then just tourists, like when we were just in El Nido in the Philippines, and we were picking up the beaches, and we had so many people come join us and help out and ask what we were doing, and then promised that every adventure they went on from there on out that they were going to do the same thing. So it's been really cool to see how one small act can really impact so many people and get them involved.
And it's so funny because people come up to us and like think that we're massive experts in the topic, and it's like we're just like me and you. It's just something that we thought we'd like try and get involved with, and it's only been the last couple of years. Like, I don't know that much more than you. I'm just out there trying, and I think in a few years' time we will hopefully be experts in the issue, and we'll have been doing it for long enough to speak to actually important people like governments, like the UN and people like that. So it's just people like me and you can go out and do it yourself.
That's awesome. So for people who don't live near an ocean or a body of water to clean it up, what would you tell them about their plastic use?
So coming from the Midwest myself, I grew up diving very competitively. Like, I didn't travel to like the ocean or do those sorts of things a lot. So I had never wanted to like do anything with this issue prior to becoming a cliff diver, I didn't even know the issue was actually like a real thing. You know, you see these ads on TV and you're like, is it really that bad? Like, I'm sure that's the worst of the worst. So I think the biggest thing I've just realized is no matter where you are in the world, like, your habits matter so much, and just simple things, eliminating plastic, single-use plastic from your everyday practices is so important. And even us here in Kansas in the Midwest, like, our spoon that we use will end up in the ocean. So being able to realize that and recognize that, I think, is so important.
And it's so interesting, like all forms of human life all over the planet is like the same issue kind of, because we go to Dubai, it's a massive city, completely developed, but they have no natural water there, so they've got lots of plastic bottle issues and stuff. And then you go to the complete opposite, like a remote place like El Nido in the Philippines where we've just been, and they have a problem with like education. They don't understand like burning plastic, just using it unnecessarily is a bad thing. So just everywhere you go they have the same issue, just in different ways.
Awesome. So, coming back to this season, where are you guys most excited to travel to?
Should we count down to 3 and see if we have the same answer?
I like that idea.
Yeah.
Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3.
Lebanon.
Really? I was for sure you were going to say Greece.
So Greece is our absolute favourite place. It's just beautiful, like the people are so friendly, the food is amazing, the white chalky cliffs are just spectacular. Everything about Greece is perfect, and we just love going there every year, but we've never been to the Lebanon stop, and I've never been there. I think it's a place where not many people go, and that's why it interests me, and that's why I'm most excited to go there.
I am not a big fan of off the cliff. So in Red Bull competitions, you have off the cliff. So it's literally you're jumping off a cliff, and a lot of times you have to jump out so you don't land on rocks below you. And then there's also the actual platforms that they build. So for me, I like the platforms. I don't like off the cliffs, and Lebanon is an off the cliffs event, so I'm not as excited for that one.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, then I have to ask this last question. What is the craziest dive you guys have ever completed?
Well,
Crazy in a good way or a bad way?
Up for interpretation.
I would say the craziest thing that I've done is actually a dive with no somersaults rotations. It's just the height and just how stupid the decision was. We were in like Bali just over a year ago, and we were at this huge waterfall called Aling, and the tour guides told us it was 35 meters high, which is way, way higher than anything I've ever done. And we kind of got there, and they were lying about some of the heights of the littler waterfalls. So I thought, you know, no way it's 35 meters, they're just lying. We couldn't actually officially measure it because it's completely raging. There's no way you could throw a tape measure off to get a measurement. But the other guys rappelled down to a lower spot because they're like, I'm not going for 35 meters. So they kind of rappelled down. I thought, no way it's going to be like higher than 15, 16 meters. But I watched them from the top, and they've gone halfway down the waterfall, and they've jumped in. I've gone, actually that's pretty high down there, so maybe it is 30 meters. And I just jumped off, and I was just in the air forever. Because the impact is so huge when you go that high, I was just focusing in the air, just please stay conscious, just get yourself out of the waterfall, because it was like turbulent. If I'm injured, it's just land straight and swim out of there. And luckily I could do it, and it was actually awesome looking back on it, but definitely the craziest. And then in terms of the hardest thing that I do is probably a quadruple somersault with a half twist. I do that forwards and inwards. And I also do a handstand dive with 2.5 somersaults and 2.5 twists. And that was officially my hardest dive.
Wow.
So my craziest story isn't quite as crazy as his. But right now the hardest dive I do is a back double triple. So it's 2 somersaults with 3 flips, and I'm currently working to do a back double quad. So I was the first woman to compete 3 twists, and now I want to be the first woman to compete 4. So hopefully I just kind of got to get the courage to go up there and add a twist.
And it's really funny, like in diving, some people are flippers and some people are twisters, and it's just all depending on what you want. And actually I'm okay at twisting, but I feel much more comfortable doing somersaults. So I'm working towards doing dives with 5 somersaults in them. I already do 4, and she's doing 3 twists, and she wants to step up to 4, so.
We're definitely completely opposite in what we like to do.
And when we're giving each other advice, we're like feeling like really nervous for each other because we'd be so uncomfortable in each other's boots doing the dives that we don't actually like doing.
Yeah.
Well, opposites attract.
So sometimes we just have to
Something
talk
like that.
to other coaches who know us like more personally and a little bit better for our needs.